I want to talk to you about the human animal, because you talk about that frequently in your episodes. And I want to talk about that. I had a buddy who reached out to me, and I don't know what it is about gas stations, you know, that I don't know, just ensues violence and drama and whatever. But my buddy says he's at the gas station yesterday, and he's already a hothead. My friend is already a hothead, and I know that about him. So when he said that somebody was staring at him in a weird way, I was already like, what's going to happen next? So he tells me he pulls up to this pump. There's a guy in the car who apparently was going to go to that pump, and my friend got there first. And so
this sounds very similar.
It does,
to what your dad went through.
I'm telling you. I don't know what it is about the gas station. It's crazy. And so the guy is mad dogging him, and my buddy hops out the car. And he's like, well, what are we doing? And then the dude was just staring at him. He didn't respond back, but he was staring at him, still getting him that look like he was going to do something. So my buddy kind of walks towards him a little bit more. He's like, what are we doing? He said when he walked closer, the glare that he originally saw first, now he could actually see in the car. And it looked like a husband and a wife. So the wife, you could see now the woman in the passenger seat, and then you could see kids in the back. And then he said he calmed down. He's like, oh man, nah, dude, let's not do this, bro. Like, what are you doing, man? You got a whole family. Like, this is not worth it, whatever. I don't know what you're looking at me like that for. It's not worth it, whatever. So luckily they didn't fight, nothing happened, but that guy had an attitude, and it could have turned into something. So I want to talk to you about the human animal and checking your ego, because that could have been a situation where because his family was with him, he felt like he had something to prove, and then it could have went left. You know, so what is your process of, you know, checking your ego when you're in a situation like that where you feel that, you know, things can go left just off of nature?
Yeah. So in that scenario that you just described, like, there's a lot to unpack there, because first off, let's say your buddy and this guy both pull up at the same time, right? Assuming there's no dire emergency that your buddy's going to, how about you just yield and let him have the right of way? Mm-hmm. Like, what would happen if he had yield and let him have the right of way? And then he went to the other pump. Takes a high level of ego to put up a fight, metaphorically, in terms of that's my pump, right? Takes a high level of self-awareness, on the other hand, to, fine, man, you can have this pump, I'll go to the other one. And just because of that, doesn't mean that I'm a punk, doesn't mean that I'm weak, doesn't mean anything. See, I've been young. I'm 49 now. I've been young, and I know that we feel like, man, he just punked me if he took that pump. At this stage in life, and I wish if I can go back to my 17, 18, 19, 20, 25, even 30-year-old self, I'd be like, dude, just yield, show grace, and move on. Because back then, I hadn't tested myself yet in terms of how much money I can make, how I can lead people. So I hadn't built the confidence that I have now. And so if your friend, and all young dudes these days in their 20s, if he had the confidence that he knows that he's a badass dude, and he just mentally jujitsu'd this guy by saying, here you go, man, you can be an asshole and take this pump, I'm gonna take the other one, and he moves on. But what do we do if the human animal takes over, the ego takes over, and when is a good time to unleash the human animal? There's certainly a time to unleash it. And by the way, the term, for those of you watching and listening to this, the term human animal is really a term from Joseph Campbell. He studied religion and faith his entire life. In fact, if you look at all the Star Wars movies, they were based on his writings, and some of his best writing is found in a book called The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell. So highly recommend that book. But he talks about the human animal, and then he talks about the consciousness, like elevating, transcending to consciousness, killing off the human animal, who's impulsive, who's emotional, who's driven by ego. And so there's a time to unleash the human animal. Like, if your wife and kids, their life is at risk, your life is at risk, the life and the safety of the people that you love is at risk, under a state of control, unleash the human animal. Like, let him have it, right? Whatever level that looks like. If I'm going to confront threat, I'm going to confront it at whatever level I need to neutralize it. Like, that's what I've learned in life. However, if I can avoid it, why don't I, right? So that guy's staring because he's in Papa Bear mode. He's got the wife, he's got the kids with him. He feels maybe this young man just disrespected him. So now let's look at it from his perspective, right? So your friend, who's in his 20s, I'm imagining?
Same as me at 27.
Okay, 27 years old. He's rolling solo, I imagine, to the gas station. And he's like, man, I'm a young fucking jack dude. Like, no one disrespects me. All right, cool. So there's ego there. You got Papa Bear here in the car. I'm imagining he might be a little older if he's got wife and some kids. And he's like, hey, man, like, this guy's threatening. He looks threatening. He just disrespected me in front of my wife. And, you know, as a man, our egos tend to come out, and we tend to kind of stick our chest out when we want to be the hero to our wives and to our kids. And so you got two egos that are about to combat each other. Thank God your friend took the smarter path. And as he stepped up closer and the glare of the windshield went away, he saw, hey, man, it's a dude with a wife and kids. I'm just going to not confront this situation any further. I'm guessing he got his gas and he took off. But you've got to assess the situation, and you got to ask yourself a question. Now, what if this dude does have a gun?
All right.
So now you're walking up to him. He's with his wife and kids.
Just ready to go.
He's ready to go. He feels that you're a threat to his wife and kids. He's not even worried about himself anymore. He feels like he's a threat to his wife and kids. You keep coming up. You knock on his window. He doesn't know what else to do. He thinks he's under attack. Pop, pop, pop. It's over, right? It's over. Young man shot. This guy is going to jail. Everyone's going to jail. You shoot someone, even in self-defense, you're going to jail. You may get out of it if it was a rightful attempt at self-defense, but you're going to jail no matter what. And so, how do you manage the human animal? You have to put it through a very quick checklist immediately. Is this going to be worth it? Am I really being disrespected, or do I feel disrespected? Right?
Big difference.
How we feel versus what's really happening matters. Because if I feel I'm being disrespected, I might react. If I'm not being disrespected, then I can respond and go, hey, man, you know what? Looks like you're in a hurry, bro. So go ahead. You take this pump, I'll take the other one. All good. You might have just taught that guy a really good lesson of like showing grace, compassion, kindness, right? Because maybe he is an asshole. He's got a wife and kids, but he's an asshole. And you just taught him a great lesson in being a good human, right? So again, egos, the fastest way to kill your ego is to develop a lot of life experience, fighting experience, self-mastery of your emotions, of your thoughts, become more kind, but always know that you can be a savage and attack anytime you need to if you or the people that you love, their lives are in threat.
For sure.
Certainly in this situation, no one's life was in threat, but both dudes' egos were in threat, and that was the problem.
Exactly. Well, I'm just curious, what is a non-negotiable for you? Like something where it's like, oh, green light, absolutely, I'm not taking that.
In terms of being disrespected or violence?
Just like letting the human animal out.
Okay, I'll give you a great one. The other day I flew back from Dallas. I landed in Orange County. I stopped by the Starbucks to get my grande cold brew. And when I walked up to the door, I like to walk in. I'm a bit old school. Plus, I had the TRX, and so taking that thing through the drive-thru is a mess.
Yeah.
But as I walked up to the door, they had a sign up: not enough employees in the building. Sorry, only drive-thrus open, not the cafe. Cool. So I get in my truck. I'm about to try and make it through the drive-thru, but there's another car backing up, and then there's this like fat chick trying to manage her way across the parking lot with this like piercing through her nose, purple hair. You know the type. Like she's a mega feminist, has fat aggression because she's fat and angry at herself and at life because it's like living in a fat suit. It's uncomfortable. And so if you're mad at yourself, you got to be mad at the world. So she raises her hands up and throws her hands up in the air because she's about to get run over by me and by that car.
She's mad at you.
She's mad at me. Like, why won't you stop? And I'm just trying to back up for this other car. I'm trying to show a little compassion and grace to this car. All she has to do is wait by her car. She got out of her car door. All she had to do was wait, let me and that other car maneuver around because these are big, giant, lumbering vehicles. Wait by your car. Once that car moves, then I can move. Then you can cross the parking lot. Yeah. But in the meantime, this car's backing up. I don't want to get hit, so I'm backing up.
Right.
She doesn't care about any of that.
Yeah.
All she cares is I'm fat and I need my fucking pound cake from Starbucks, and so I'm going to start fucking raising holy hell in the parking lot. So the human animal kicked in me. I was like, this motherfucking bitch, right? I rolled down my window, but then consciousness kicked in as the window's going down. That's how quick.
The animal's coming down.
Yeah, literally, the animal's coming up as the window's going down. Consciousness is kicking in. I'm like, what are you going to do, bro? You're gonna threaten? Are you going to threaten a woman? Like, I wouldn't even threaten a man in that scenario, right?
Yeah.
But I knew that I had to set her in her place.
Yeah.
So I rolled down the window, and with kindness, I was like, hey, ma'am, I'm sorry you almost got hit by that car and my car, but just to let you know, they're closed. There's a sign on the window. They're closed. So you might want to get back in your car and go through the drive-thru like the rest of us, right? And I showed so much kindness and grace to her with a bit of an attitude.
Right.
Right?
Little jab.
Yeah, with a little jab, exactly. And she felt like this motherfucker like showed kindness to me while I was a bitch hooting and hollering with the fucking nose piercing and my purple and blue hair, right? And so anyway, so what is a non-negotiable? For me, a non-negotiable, it's not ego related. I don't give a fuck. Like if I got to the pump first and you want it, it's likely yours. Unless you're like, hey, motherfucker, move your car, it's mine.
Yeah.
I might be like, sorry, friend, I'm not moving it. I'm gonna get my gas, and I'm also gonna be prepared to draw my pistol if I need to, right? And by the way, don't carry a pistol unless you have a concealed carry permit, and don't carry a pistol unless you have like the USCCA. And I don't even fucking, I'm not endorsed or sponsored by the USCCA, but it's good to have the education. Go practice with your pistol, take classes. Don't just buy a pistol and get a carry permit and then think that you're a badass. Like practice. So now that we got all that out of the way, I will stand my ground if someone's like, hey, move your car. I wanted that pump. I'm not moving my car. I got there first. I got out of my car. You're just being a jerk now.
Right.
At this point, I'm not moving my car. If they're going to come at me violently, I'll address it in the same manner. If I see that they're just hopped up on something and whatever, then I might get in my car and move it, even now.
Yeah, that's something.
Right?
Yeah, that's different.
Now, if we're somewhere and my family is with me and I feel that my family's threatened, it's non-negotiable. Like, put me in jail, put me wherever I need to end up. My family's not getting hurt, shot, mugged, stabbed, none of that. And so to me, that's where I draw the line. And I'm fine with going to jail and ending up wherever I need to as a byproduct of defending my family's safety. But I will do whatever I can. Like, I'll scan the parking lot before we get out of the car. I'll park somewhere that's perfectly lit up. Even though I know how to fight, I know how to do this, I know how to do that. Like now Andrew, like you and Andrew have been, so he does jujitsu, you've taught him how to box. Like he's a formidable force. Me and Andrew can take on some dudes. Nevertheless, I got to set a good example for him. Right. And so there's so many factors there, but I'll do whatever I can to avoid a problem. But in the chance that that problem somehow finds me and my family and I can't get away from it even then, it becomes non-negotiable that I will meet it with force.